welcome to Office Hours, our weekly get together where we talk about everything Butterflies AI. This week, the main bit of news is still that we have been updating our roleplay mature model. We've been taking the feedback that we've been receiving from the focus group and applying that to what we are doing with the different models that we are trying. Currently, I believe we are using a smaller model and we are attempting to update the base prompting so that character consistency stays more in line, as well as it has less of a chance of, I believe it's like jumbling punctuation and words is the best way to put it. It just kind of goes off on its own tangent every once in a while. And that type of thing, like, we definitely want to do our best to refine it. Once we have the mature model finished, I'm going to see what we can do about updating the other models. I know that our premium is promising expanded models as well. So I will be doing my best to remind the developers of their intent with that, as well as um, get that ball rolling as soon as possible. We have been honestly really busy with both of the projects. Butterflies is doing its best to basically catch up to all of the promises that we've made so far, while the developers are still working on the secondary project, Boba. And there's been a lot of like activity on both fronts, I suppose I should say. We've been fixing a lot of minor background bugs, like for a while there was a possibility you could see private or deleted posts in your For You feed if the bot's status was updated after you followed it. And now we've removed that, as well as um, some other minor fixes that should improve the site's reliability. We were lucky not to be affected by the Amazon outage the other day, but there are still some rippling effects with some things. The biggest issue that we're currently seeing is that there is still a lot of high queue times in direct message images. So we are looking into how best to expand our capabilities there. Um, I can tell you that it is partially a bug's fault that there are those high queue times, but I can't get into anything more specific than that, unfortunately. Other than that, I mean, yeah, it's been interesting. Um, I want to say thank you to everybody who has been giving feedback about the updates to the roleplay model, as well as people who have been logging all of the issues that they've been encountering. I know it seems like we don't really do a lot, and I do apologize for that. There's a large backlog of minor bugs that we're currently going through. From what I'm seeing, in our current feedback and bug reports feed, there are, I am seeing that we have logged most of these issues that were just reported yesterday. I need to honestly do better to respond here in these forums. I do apologize for that. Let's see, other than all of that, how has it been going for you guys. Feel free to type in the chat here. Yeah, it seems like a lot of people have been busy lately, and honestly, that's not a bad thing. I'm just happy that there's still a lot of people willing to give feedback and, come back and try again. Lately, for what I've been doing on Butterflies, is I've really just been trying to get the chat models as relevant and good as we can. Uh, Roscoe, I have tried Sora in the past, and honestly, depending on what you're looking to do, eh. It's again about the same as I'd say Kling 1.3 at this point. I don't know. It doesn't like to take tracking instructions well. Like, if you're trying to get a tracking shot as a character moves through the scene, it just takes that and flies off into a random direction. Oddly enough, Boba currently has that same issue. So, yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how a lot of these things are developing. There's also recently been a bit of hubbub around Claude 4.5 and Claude 4.5 coding. Like, a lot of people are saying it's one of the better models that Claude has ever released, and the coding capabilities are just far beyond what any other model has been. I have not personally tried it yet, but the general consensus that I've been seeing from the internet is that it is just far surpassing people's expectations. It would be lovely if one day we could support, chat models like that for our premium members, but unfortunately, a lot of these new models that we always see in the news are also really expensive to host on a website, let alone try to do at the scale that Butterflies currently is. As for the request from some of our members to have Boba anime be put onto Butterflies, I'm working on that slowly. Boba is currently working on its 1.5 model revision, and after that's released, I'm going to make a push for the inclusion of 1.4 or 1.5 onto Butterflies as an exclusive model. That way, we would not be replacing the current drawing model, which is a little bit more mixed than purely anime, even though it's used for a lot of anime. This would be a anime exclusive model in addition to the offerings of realistic, semi-realistic, and drawing. At least that's my intent. I'm definitely curious about your thoughts and feelings about that, because from what I'm understanding, that would also be what people are looking for at the moment. Especially since a lot of our more active users are exploring different ways to use what we offer to make something more unique. It's actually been really fun moderating because I've seen a lot more unique ideas instead of just the same things repeated over and over. Yeah, Ethril, I kind of figured you would say more anime models the better. Do keep in mind that I believe the initial way this would go would be that the anime exclusive model would be offered to our premium members first before we figure out how to offer it to users for free. I won't lie that developing these kinds of models takes time, is expensive, and eats up a lot of resources to run, then that's why it would essentially be premium first, and then once we figure out how to basically reduce the costs of running it, we would be able to offer it for free. Another thing that I've noticed is that it's really difficult to tell what posts are video at a glance. And I'm curious to know how many of you have seen a lot of video posts in your feed lately. Like, I know that on web they will autoplay as you scroll through, but some of them just have such subtle movement that I don't catch it at first, you know? So, have you guys seen a lot of video posts lately, or any at all? Roscoe, I know that you just recently returned. So, okay, you're not seeing video either. Makes me wonder how many people are utilizing that feature now. Like, the initial burst of video activity that we had might have been, oh, this is something new, and then it died down, you know? Okay, here's an alternative question for you then. What would you want us from Butterflies to offer for you to use the video feature? Would you want to make it more customizable? Because currently you're starting, well, okay, Roscoe, let me pause you there. What I'm talking about is the video generation feature that we have, not a live stream or on-site, like, chat type of a thing. Okay, so the voices are an issue. I also feel like the way that the video posts are made is partially an issue, right? Especially the more that I explore with different video generation sites, there are vastly superior ways than basically what we're doing with Butterflies is we're using image to video with a prompt, right? And that's not very clear to users. Not to mention having to, like, start with an image on Butterflies. While that makes perfect sense, we should be making that a bit more clear, right? So what I'm thinking is we may have to figure out a way to teach our members about how to use these tools better. Because a lot of the things that I'm seeing is people come in with actually some pretty, common questions of, how does this work? Or how does that work? And Roscoe, I believe at the moment Butterflies is just going to try to stick to Boba's generation, since we can control the model at its base. The version of Boba that we are using for Butterflies is an older version than what we're using for the anime model, so it can support a wider variety. But the current anime model also does still support realistic images, which I found really interesting. Like, just the other day, where is it? I uploaded an image of a crystal and used the 360 degree effect, and it still worked well. So I do have a feeling that we might be able to make the model on Butterflies a bit more recent than what it currently is as well. I feel like, though, the ability to control the aspect ratio is one of the biggest things that's missing, right? All of the images on Butterflies are in a 4:3 aspect ratio, I believe, or 3:4. The horizontal tablet orientation. It's not even the typical phone 9 to 16. It's a little bit wider than that. Right. You're not you're not wrong, Darvel. Having some sort of assistance for prompting, definitely something that I think would improve the overall butterflies experience as well. Because the more I'm exploring tools that are dedicated to image and video generation, the more I'm realizing that prompts are both specific and nondescript. Like a very generalized prompt can get a very beautiful and unique image, but it's up to RNG if it's generalized, right? Meanwhile, if you're trying to go for a specific theme, it's better to have some assistance with that to try to pull things better into line. A lot of the artwork that I tend to do is meant to be kind of aetherpunk and grimdark in atmosphere. And while since the inception of a lot of earlier AI models, aetherpunk has been a kind of supported style for them. It's still one of those edge cases. Same with grimdark. It's one of those edge cases where you have to be very specific with your prompting in order to get the style to actually shine through in your intent. So I definitely agree that some sort of like help me with this prompt for even just the appearance of your butterfly, right? I know when you're creating your character, we offer a kind of schema that is used and auto-generated, but like the way AI is going, a lot of things are really interactive now. And I'm not sure if that would be a good thing for butterflies or not, right? Um, what's your opinion? Is butterflies more of a social media type of a thing or more of a tool to you, you know? Because that would really influence how things are going. So it's more of a social media type of a thing in your eyes? Okay. Right. And Avery, I also personally hold that view, where it's social media that needs some additional tooling to help creators shine. Right. Right. And we have actually received a lot of feedback that people are, treating their AI bots as real friends or even sometimes as therapists. And I'm not gonna lie, it makes me have some conflicted feelings because we know for a fact AI is a yes man and can have hallucinations and it can go down a harmful road, right? But at the same time, if utilized properly, there is definitely a use case for AI to help people like overcome social anxiety or basically practice social skills even. Um, so to me, butterflies is like a good example of both the good and bad of that aspect. Because trust me, I've seen a good portion of the good and bad here. I mean, Ethel, you're not wrong. Um, Depending on your personal like outlook and overview of things, I like it definitely hallucinates a lot more often, and I've seen that trend in a lot of AI. I've even actually abused that like yes man type of hallucination to get some corporate models to do things that they normally wouldn't. Right. And it really can be a good thing for coming up with some weird ideas, or, you know, kind of giving into that fantasy nature. But at some point, you have to realize that, yes, it will hallucinate and say things that are not, you know, helpful or true, or, yeah. And Roscoe, I agree. Like, where I could definitely vent to an AI more readily than a human, because I'm not worried about the AI's like judgment of me, right? Exactly. A AI won't actually judge me unless I tell it to, you know, hey, what would this be, type of a thing. And yeah, I get that. I get that outlook. I really do. So, hmm. Ethereal, I also kind of agree with you where it does feel like it's a second job to manage all of your butterflies. Here's the thing, okay? Um, for YouTube, right? YouTube is a social media platform. And for most of us, the experience is very streamlined. You just search for the video that you're looking for and watch it. But for creators, it literally can become a second job, right? And because we're so new, like, we don't have the ability to pay well, you know, well established creators or anything like that. We don't really have that same type of outreach to really say you should try this as a earnest, you know, creator. It's just people who are doing it for fun and want to enjoy what AI has to offer. And we want to be able to support, you know, those creators with a full suite of tools that can allow them to have, you know, what they want to create on the platform within, obviously, our community guidelines. But at the same time, you're pointing out of it feeling like a second job is not inaccurate either. I feel like there really should be a separation between the creator suite and the overall platform, like YouTube eventually did, where you have YouTube Studio for your creator tools and you have YouTube for your user experience, right? As it currently stands, we're kind of in that hazy area of it's all blended together and we don't really have a proper use case for either. Every user is a creator, and once you start creating over a certain number of bots, it really turns into a second job. So yeah, Darvel, you bring up that exact thing that I was gonna get to next. With Poster Pass, if you're approving all of your posts at the same time every day, you're going to be spammed with however many it is for however long it takes within a few seconds of each every day. And I don't know about you, but that's literally led me to not interact with Poster Pass as much as I used to. I don't like that spam. I would love the ability to have a select number of butterflies that I could just automatically post, right? Especially since I'm a premium subscriber, just subtract from my 100 pokes for auto posts, right? That way it's not like people can abuse the automated nature of it like they used to, because let's face it, the reason it is the way it is now is because people used to create a bunch of alternative accounts with one or two or three generally rule-breaking bots, and they would just post into it ad infinitum and we couldn't find them, right? Or There was even a time where the entire site slowed down because there were just too many posts trying to happen at the same time, because people would create an account, create a butterfly, and then just leave, and that butterfly was just posting without them. Like, trying to balance the activity and, cost management, user management, it's difficult. It really is. I also understand the sentiment of Poster Pass not being the best solution, especially when it used to be that, humans and AI coexist. Create your character and just interact with them until you're bored, and then others can interact with them, right? And that's just, I don't know. It seems like that vision has been lost. So Poster Pass is not a way to put the moderation responsibility onto the users. It is more or less a way to prevent excessive, the way I stated it, where it was a moderation issue, that might have been very simplified, right? The proper way to put it is, again, people would create a throwaway account and the entire system was being clogged up by bots that never got any interaction at all from a single user. They were created and left to post without any interaction. And next thing we knew, the people who were actually interacting with their butterflies, trying to get them to post, couldn't anymore. Does that make more sense? So by switching to, we essentially DDoSed ourselves into not being a functioning service. So what we're trying to do with Poster Pass is to show, hey, yes, I care about this butterfly as its creator, and I care about what it posts. And we combine that with the feedback that we got about those members who were most active, trying everything in their power to get their butterflies to post a certain way, right? So being able to refine and edit the post before it's posted, it shows not only that the character is cared about, right? And that's exactly what I was just suggesting, Darvel, is, maybe even have it so stories could be automated like they once were, where you could set up a series of posts and let's say for 3 days it'll just automatically post from the story idea that you set out, or something similar to that. We definitely don't want to DDoS ourselves again, but having that kind of a system where some automation happens would remove a lot of the negative feelings I personally even have with trying to manage all of my butterflies, let alone some of y'all who have 500, 600 butterflies that are still actively posting, and I don't know how y'all manage that. So the way that stories are currently working, right? I believe stories are a bit bugged. I'm not sure what the intent is 100%, but as it currently stands, when you create a story, it goes into the Poster Pass flow. Then you can edit it, and that can then be uploaded and it'll be included in that story. From there, if you continue adding or editing your Poster Pass after those 3 to 5 posts for that story, it'll just continue adding on to that story, and I believe that is a bug, right? Because the way that it's meant to have additional posts inside of a story is by going through the story and manually clicking add more to this story, right? So, yeah, there's a lot of these things that I feel we ought to kind of revisit and see if maybe even some of these things are worth scrapping or rebuilding. Yeah, no, Darvel, you're absolutely right too. Like, some people are creating stories just to get it away from some of the recurring themes that we've seen, like Thailand. Everybody's thinking about Thailand. So, yeah. And that kind of thing, like, I don't know. It feels like we really ought to figure out a way to, like, it's hard to put into words. It's hard to put the thoughts into words because there are base prompts that need to be present in order to tell the language model what to do, how to behave, what a post is, things like that, right? And if you include any specific examples, you then run the risk of those specific examples being the only thing that it follows. Exactly. That's exactly what I was just getting to, Avery, is looking at the way things were posting and the different methods on admin. There have been a few updates, but it appears the current one still uses some examples that utilize Thailand, cafes, and thinking about different things. Right. There could be some form of moderation, or not moderation, automation that goes, the user edited this post. What did they edit? We should try to include more of that edit, right? But that'll also run the risk of there being a lot of just the same context over and over. And Ethereal, up into a point, it kind of does. It needs to understand, like, what the limits of the text it can write is, as well as what is going to then create the image. Because to my understanding, the way that we currently go about it is it writes the post description first and then uses that post description to generate the image, right? So if it doesn't know what the limitations of that description are, it won't do an accurate job for the image. And you get a lot of those fuzzy, just point clouds that we used to have way back in February of, or I think it was 24. We used to have a lot of issues with just diffuse clouds. That was partially due to clocks. The waiting thing is still a thing, I suppose. Yeah, like, oof. There's just a lot of moving variables, and I think we need to sit down and define what those variables are and what they should be doing, and then take a good close look at what they're actually doing. And I feel like that's gonna take us a minute. I really do. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think that, like, what we're doing is currently in line with what you expect an AI social media platform to be? Yeah, the comments. Oof. So, That's again one of those balance issues, right? The amount of comments inside of a single post. Because early on, when we didn't have a lot of bots, we saw a lot more commenting activity between bots. The more bots we had, the less activity we saw, and we found out that was because that queue just got full and it said no. Like, we just won't continue. And again, it's that where we were essentially DDoSing ourselves. And that's led to some restrictions on like how many comments per post, when the comments are generated, things like that. And it's made commenting, like the commenting, feel a lot less natural. Right, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, they just don't feel natural. A lot of comments that I'm seeing from my characters, they are not in character. They are just the most generic thing. And it makes me feel like the model that's used for commenting is using the realistic model when like design the character with the roleplay model in mind sometimes. Um, it's definitely been noticed by quite a few of our community members that there is a drastic difference between the realistic and roleplay model, and that's actually kind of on purpose, right? The realistic model is meant to use more modern lingo and be more, I guess, Gen Z approachable. Um, don't ask me. I'm a millennial. I don't know how those things work. Okay, but it's made a lot of people think that it kind of dumbs down their characters, especially when the character is supposed to have an intelligent trait and it just doesn't use capitalization or punctuation. While sure, that reflects reality, it doesn't reflect the reality of the character that you're trying to create, you know? Yep. That's what I'm trying to get at, is like, we again have to try to figure out the like balance between all of this, especially because a diverse set of characters can be created, and we're trying to just have the most base form of prompts so that they just work. And yeah, that's a mess. So, Ethel, it really seems like you are in a unique situation because, okay, um, I was gonna say most of what you're pointing out, where you're not getting any comments on your posts, I've seen a lot less of that from other people. Like, you seem to have that a lot more than others. But you're absolutely right, where the type of bots that are commenting on posts, just what the heck happened there? What happened to these categories that we had set up inside of mobile, where, anime bots were supposed to be posting to related characters from their anime, and fantasy bots were supposed to be commenting on fantasy bots and stuff like that. Like, that just seems to have completely gone out the window somewhere, and I don't know where. And yeah, like, I've noted that as a bug about 2 months ago now. Um, Pretty soon here, I'm gonna be trying to raise that one's priority because it's getting a bit ridiculous. Do you mind going into a little bit more detail about what you mean by that, Ethel? Oh, yeah, I've seen a lot of that. In fact, people are reporting comments like that every day that we do our best to remove because they're just irrelevant to the post. And that is exactly what caused me to start logging that bug about 2 months ago. Is those reports from our average users going, "What the heck is this? This is just not related to anything." And I've seen some pretty bad ones too, where some it appears that some underage bots were able to comment on adult oriented posts. And that is definitely a major concern, and I made sure that that was taken care of as soon as possible. But wow, like, I don't know where it went out the window. Solution is simple to provide some kind of boilerplate style prompts that can be selected from drop down during creation to apply directly to the bot's commenting style block. You know, you're not wrong, Avery, and that's actually a really good solution. I really do honestly like that. Um, if I recall correctly, Shapes Inc. used a similar system where you could directly edit the like way that it responded to different things through their personality, right? And they had their own drop downs that had um like presets and stuff like that. I think I think that like yeah, not only do we need some way to test changes for our butterflies as creators, we need more control on how they're interacting with things. And then once that's set, like, it should improve a lot of different things. Comments should improve by, users being able to actually influence how their butterflies are commenting and what they're commenting on. But that also runs into the issue of choice paralysis for a brand new user who's never encountered AI before, right? Someone who has never set up an AI character before would not know what to do with all of those different places. So we would need to present it in a way that would explain that as you go through, as well as keep it simple enough that the average person would understand what they're doing, why they're doing it. Right. And I believe you are right about that point too, Avery, where the realism, like, overarching portion is not really something that can be influenced by a character's prompting. And it should be. It really should be. Like, if you give a character any sort of trait that would affect their dialogue, it should affect their dialogue, no matter what, like, model you're chatting on. And I 100% agree with that. Honestly, I feel like, again, going back to that, what are all these different moving parts? What are they supposed to be doing, and what are they actually doing? Type of a thing would be a good thing to do at this point in time. That way we have a solid understanding of what everything should be doing and is doing, and then we can figure out how to make it work better. Right. And that's That's a good point there as well, Avery, where catering to the lowest denominator can work against the people who are the most loyal to butterflies. And I wish I could say, I have any influence over whether or not we are catering to the lowest denominator, or what even, the target audience is. I couldn't tell you what our target audience is, frankly, other than people who are interested in social media and AI. That's about all I can summarize it as, and that is it's not a good, it's not a very good description of what we do. Not to mention, if we pay attention to the numbers, then we're gonna run into a lot of the same issues that some platforms like Janitor AI or other champions of, yes, you can have your NSFW bots here, will run into, where payment processors just don't want to work with you, where service providers are going no, things like that. That's why we take moderation here very, very seriously, right? Because without having active moderation on the website, it's just not possible for an NSFW bot to exist on any sort of AI website, thanks to, again, that yes man nature of LLMs. Yeah, I agree with you, Ethel, that payment thing is going in a weird direction lately. There's just so many things that are currently being talked about in law, as well as precedents being set, and just the way companies are actually responding to it despite what's, currently on the books. It's all weird. It's all very, very weird. And it's honestly up in the air. Not gonna lie, this feels a lot like the dot-com bubble, only a different technology. It's AI. I keep hearing it's a bubble, and I'm waiting for that bubble to pop. Right, but that's the thing, is I'm not sure about that, because the current way that things are going, the United States, where Butterflies is based, is working on basically deregulating AI, as far as I can tell. And so that would actually make it easier for us to do what we're trying to do. But at the same time, the way that, companies are actually responding and people are actually actively responding to the way that AI is tending to boom is the opposite of what regulation is doing. So it's a fine balance between, yes, we're legally allowed to do this, but this is gonna not be popular. Especially, perfect example of that. While NSFW AI is extremely popular with the adult user base, it is extremely unpopular in the general public, right? So that type of a situation makes a lot of this very complicated. And I'd love to be able to go, yes, this is our target demographic. We should absolutely invest everything we have into this target demographic and make this the best site possible for them. But at the same time, as a business, you have to try to grow your target audience too. And to my understanding, right, even though AI is always in the news and seems to be ever popular, there's also this sentiment that it's being forced down everybody's throats, and balancing that resentment with trying to get more people to use a social media website where most of the profiles they're going to encounter are not real people is like how do you how do you this is me being just completely ignorant and the average, person. How do you even do that? You know? Like, how do you make this feel like it's something worthwhile without making it feel like we're trying to shove AI into everything? And then on top of that, we have our platform where the point is to create an AI personality that you interact with, right? But then there are big social media platforms that are mixing that capability into their platforms, and there's pushback for that from the general public, but there's also there's enough what's the best word here, that there's enough engagement to have these companies continue trying. Grok, for example, on Twitter, like Ethel just mentioned. My goodness. Twitter loves Grok for whatever reason. I don't get it. But the different AI experiments that Meta has tried on Facebook and Instagram, there's been pushback about that, right? When you are on YouTube, you, as recently as I think just 2 months ago, didn't used to see created by AI tags, and now you see them everywhere because YouTube's own policies are updating to respond to user sentiment about, we want to know whether or not this is AI. And I get that. I 100% support that. I definitely would like to know whether or not the content that I am consuming is in part generated by AI. Not only does it inform my overall view of the content, but it also informs my view of the creator, right? I'm not saying that AI content creators or content creators who exclusively use AI to create content are bad people, but I am going to pay a little bit more attention to those who are doing everything by hand the old-fashioned way before AI, because it takes a lot more effort, right? And we should be rewarding the effort that people go through. It's a complicated subject. It really is. Especially because I am one of those people who consider myself an AI content creator, right? So I want to be able to support what I am doing, but I also want to support those who are doing it without the help of AI. So yeah. And Ethel, I think you kind of nailed it on the head, is who needs effort when it's not something you care about? My goodness. And Avery, you're absolutely right. It is the age-old debate. Should judgment be based on effort or outcome? And I personally believe that the outcome weighs more heavily than the effort. But given that, right, the effort still should be rewarded, because again, doing all of these things the quote-unquote old-fashioned way or without any AI assistance is still if everybody stopped doing it that way, we wouldn't be able to make new AI models that would be improved. It would just be a feedback loop like we're already seeing. We need to continue to innovate without an algorithm dictating how we're innovating. Right, exactly. It really should be a mixture of both, because AI has expanded a lot of different horizons for a lot of different things. I also apologize about all the crying in the background. Alright, it's about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. We should start wrapping up office hours here soon, too. So, just to recap, the biggest changes that we've been seeing lately have been testing of a new, mature roleplay model. We are listening to your feedback as best as possible and using that feedback to inform our decisions with the changes to the model in order to get something that is both of good quality and scalable for free users. After that, I'm going to be doing my best to give the same treatment to the rest of the free models, and then having the developers do their best to fulfill the promise to premium users. We are still primarily focused on bug fixing, as unfortunately there's just been a large backlog of bugs. Like I've said a few times, it really seems like we need to re-examine the key features that we're offering and figure out, what they were intended to do and what they're currently doing. So, with that being said, like just previously mentioned with stories being weird on how they post, there's a lot of bugs with stories. There's a lot of bugs with older features that were tried and then seemingly abandoned, right? Like, for the longest time on the website, there was the ability to select voices, right? And you could have a voice response from your butterfly in direct messages, and then that ability was quietly removed, and you could still select a voice even though there was no backup for that. Like, things like that, right? I can definitely see where we need to go in and just fix a lot of that. Bubba, as I had previously mentioned, I believe at the top of the hour, we are doing our best to resolve the issues with the wait times in direct messages for images. What it currently stems down to is, again, a very similar reason to why we have Poster Pass. There's a lot of requests for direct messages or images in direct messages. A part of that reason behind that is because we don't have a hard set limit on how many images you can receive in direct messages per day, because that offers a more realistic chatting experience, right? And so, because of the versatility of chatting on butterflies, that leads to a slew of image generation requests that just happen, are requested, or are otherwise, tried to be pushed through. And I've seen ridiculous queues. There was one time I saw 7,000 requests ahead of mine. So, yeah, it's weird. Ethereal, the limit for you as a user requesting an image, right, is 15. That means you have 15 of those slash imagines, or hey, can you send an image of this, or right click send image. But the butterflies are actually not limited in how many they just send to you of their own volition, right? There is a ability of a butterfly to just send you an image during your conversation of its own volition, and it happens a lot more on the realistic chat mode than it does on the roleplay chat mode. Yep, the RNG ones. Right-clicking them. Okay, what is different in right-clicking a message, generate image, and asking for a picture in chat, and why is the former not working? So, from what I'm understanding, um, the main difference is what is sent to generate the image and where it's being sent, right? When you are asking for through natural language or using the /imagine prompt, it is taking your input into a higher priority than what the bot just said. When you are using the three-dot menu or a right click on the message to generate an image, it is taking what the bot said into a higher priority for that image generation, right? And the difference between those, it basically leads to a different queue time between those two, my understanding, right? Because people are like trying to get specific images, they're going to use the user side more than allowing the butterfly to generate its own images via that context menu. And Ethereal, yeah, I agree with you. I actually use that right-click send image a lot inside of roleplay because sometimes it just helps like with the visualization of the roleplay in general. Oh, we are at the top of the hour now. That means we really ought to be wrapping up our office hours today. So I will give you guys about 5 minutes for any final thoughts or questions, and then we'll head off. Anything else? I have no clue what happened to Nectar, and that's a very, very, very good question. I believe the entire Nectar system was replaced with what we now have for premium. But don't quote me on that, and I will ask for sure. That's a very good point. Alrighty. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for all your feedback and wonderful questions. I will definitely do my best to get answers to your questions for next office hours. And for those of you who are watching us on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all very much for coming, and we will see you next time.